Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to take a look back at week 15 of the 2020 season of the Overwatch League, the final weekend of qualifying matches for the May Melee tournament that will be taking place next weekend. We'll get a little more into that later on in the video, and we'll talk more about that, of course, later in the week when I give my predictions for this tournament, both for the Asia Pacific region and for the North American region. But for now, let's just take a look back at what happened this past weekend and talk about the matches. So, let's throw my picks up on the screen now, and let's take a look. And as you can see, not too bad. Not too bad, all things considered. 2-0, big picks once again. Loving that. 10-2 overall record, so feeling pretty good about this week. The matches that I got wrong, I'm not angry about the fact that I picked the way that I did. It wasn't something that I saw and was like, wow, I should have gotten that one right. Like, no, they were things that surprised me. So let's just jump into it and let's take a look at everything we have. Saturday, the Chengdu Hunters beat the Seoul Dynasty. One of the two matches that I got wrong. I didn't see this one coming after the Dynasty's performance last week, beating the Shanghai Dragons. And this is something I'll touch on a little more as we get later in the week. But the Dynasty are not the worst team in this region, in my opinion. They're just not playing well, but I think overall they still are better than some of these other teams. And I think once they start figuring things out, and once they've put things together, they should be better. Right now, I don't really know what it is that's going on with them and why they're struggling so much. They definitely have some things that they need to do, some pieces they need to move around and figure out, but overall, they just didn't look good against Chengdu Hunters, and Chengdu Hunters really dominated them, and that's really all there is to it. Next, we have the London Spitfire taking on the Shanghai Dragons. Shanghai Dragons walked away from this one with a win. The London Spitfire looked okay, especially on the first map. As the series went on, it became more and more of a Dragons role, but we've come to expect that from the Shanghai Dragons at this point in time. They are the best team in this region, arguably the best team in the league, and they're going to keep doing this until the season is over, I think. I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. The Spitfire certainly have things they can work on and improve on. They're not a perfect team. I'm certainly disappointed in their performance this past week. I had higher hopes for them, and we'll see how they continue to go. You know, they've only played a few matches, and they're just getting back into the groove. And I do think the Asia Pacific region is actually a tough region. There were some question marks about whether or not it was actually a difficult region, but no, I do think it's actually a very strong region. And you're going to be kind of forging the fire over here. If we get to a point where the league does come together again, I think a lot of these Asia Pacific teams are actually going to be pretty dangerous, including London. So we need to see a little more of London, but right now I think they might be the weakest team in the region. Final Asia Pacific match from Saturday was the New York Excelsior taking on the Hangzhou Spark. NYXL walk away with a 3-1 victory. The Spark looked pretty good. They were running a lot of Ryan Zarya, something that I don't think I ever actually touched upon this in a video, but I've actually really liked when they run the Ryan Zarya. I really like when the Hangzhou Spark don't run the exactly what's meta, if what's exactly meta doesn't fit what they do best. When you look at the Hangzhou Spark, they have Sassen, who is a very good Zarya. They can run Ryan Zarya, and it looks very good. If they can run the dive with Gushui on Winston, it works. They win when they don't necessarily run exactly what's meta. Now, they ran Adora on Echo a decent amount, at least against London. I don't remember if he did against New York or not, but I think they did. And Adora's Echo was actually pretty good. The Spark certainly are going to be making some changes, and we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a little bit. But for now, we're just going to move on to the next match. But New York looked pretty good against the Hangzhou Spark. Libero especially looked very, very good. It has me a little worried about them going into the tournament, but I think they should be fine based on what I have seen from them. But there's a spot in the tournament where I think they will get, and I don't think they're going to go any further than that. Moving on to the North America matches for Saturday. Houston Outlaws steamrolled the Vancouver Titans. Not really a whole lot we can say. This Vancouver Titans roster, new roster. Not a whole lot they can do when they are, a brand new team that has a bunch of players who came up from contenders, have had very little time to prepare. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, and that's where they are. The Houston Outlaws, a lot of question marks around them. Hydration was playing the main, nowhere to be seen this match. This is after their last week's match. I believe it was against the Atlanta Reign, maybe? No, I don't remember who they played last week. Whoever they played last week, they subbed out Muma for Hydration on the final map, or going into the final map. So clearly some stuff going on there. Some things will change with this team going forward. They will definitely be looking to sign a new main tank. I think that's what I'm under the impression of. Oh, it was the Atlanta Reign. I was correct. This is a team who's definitely going to try to bring in a new main tank. I don't think they believe in Muma enough if they are putting a damaged player in on the role. And normally I would say, well, maybe Muma's just not feeling well or whatnot, but the fact that they subbed Muma out last week and then he didn't start this week shows me they probably are just not super confident in his abilities right now. Moving on, the Florida Mayhem took on the Washington Justice. The new look Washington Justice, bringing in Janu and Stitch, formerly of the Vancouver Titans. Now, they bring these two players in on 14-day contracts, so they're not locked in forever. So it's a little difficult to say for sure how much this team is going to be good going forward, because we don't know if Janu and Stitch will remain on this team for the foreseeable future. But they looked better than they've looked most of the season against this Mayhem team, who is pretty good. Mayhem, top 2 team in the North American tournament, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. It's a 3-1 win for the Mayhem, which is a bit unfortunate because if they had managed to get the 3-0 win, they would have guaranteed the number 1 overall seed, but they were unable to do so. But the Justice, I think, will get better with the additions of Janu and Stitch. If those players remain on the team for more than 14 days, well, then we will see potentially even more out of them. But for now, we have to just speculate what they might be if those players remain there. We know there's a break after the May tournament, which is going to be a big part of them trying to hopefully get those players over and making things work there. But it's an interesting group of signings for them. Mayhem, though, looked very good. Their map win streak ended, but their win streak overall continues. They look pretty good going into the tournament. I think they will be tested. I think it's going to be a bit of a difficult ride for them. And they're going to definitely have to go up against some tough competition when the tournament comes around. But by locking up a top 4 spot, they give themselves a pretty good shot at guaranteeing themselves some money. So they're not guaranteed money, but they only need 1 win to guarantee themselves $10,000. So that's pretty good for them. Moving on to the next match on Saturday, the Boston Uprising with a win over the LA Gladiators. The Boston Uprising, they still looked like the Boston Uprising of old. They didn't look like this incredibly unbeatable team. They didn't look incredible. They looked good enough. They outplayed the Gladiators, and they got the win. Punk's first game. You got to feel good for these players. They've been in such a difficult patch. Obviously, they had a 10-game or 9-game losing streak. They had a teammate get accused of things and found guilty of these things, or at least enough so that the team removed him from their team. And so you have this drama surrounding the team. You have people who are putting your team at the bottom of power rankings, calling out your team, calling your team bad, calling the players bad in a way, even if not directly, indirectly. It's going to get to you, and the players manage to fight through all that and get a win. But it's their second win of the season, right? We're not going to sit here and celebrate, or we shouldn't sit here and celebrate the fact that the Boston Uprising got a second win, right? They need to start building from this. They need to work from this. They need to continue to improve and get better and try to see if they can, even if not turn the entire season around, turn some of it around so that they don't end as this bottom team with only 2 wins, right? this is a start. You got to keep going. The final match on Saturday was my big pick, which was the San Francisco Shock taking on the Atlanta Reign. Not a good series. San Francisco Shock dominated the Atlanta Reign. I think the Atlanta Reign, if there's one thing I've learned from them over the past few weeks, it is that they are not as good as I believe we originally thought they were. And I think this was really the moment that cemented that. They did not look very good. That is the truth of the matter. No Erster, which I still don't agree with. I think Erster should always be playing for this team. Was Edison Baby Bay? And Baby Bay did look good. In Baby Bay's defense, he played very, very well. He was holding his own against Ants. Very good look for the Shock, though. Shock looked very good going into this May tournament. They did make some roster moves. They announced that Architect is leaving the team. His contract has been sent to another team. We don't know which team yet, but I'll talk about that in a second because we have at least an idea of what team it is. But they also announced that they signed Twilight, the flex support formerly of the Vancouver Titans. Now, I don't know if he's going to play in this tournament or not. I don't know when they're going to get him over to North America. There's obviously a lot that goes into that. But they're bolstering their roster. They're improving their roster. They're not happy with where they are right now. They want to continue. So this will be an interesting team to see. But they lose a DPS player. They add a flex support. A good addition, in my opinion, seeing as Violet has struggled on the Ana. So we'll see what happens, but very, very, very scary team to have to go up against going into this May tournament. They're looking very, very good. Moving on to Sunday, we have the Guangzhou Charge beating the Chengdu Hunters. It was a 3-2 match. It was a very close match. Hunters almost reverse swept the Charge. No Nero in the lineup for the Charge, so a little... how much can you really take away from this? The Charge are a team right now in a very interesting spot. We know Nero soon is going to have to return to North America to renew his visa, just like we have the situation currently with Neptuno, who is currently in Spain renewing his visa. So this team may have a bit of a slump coming up because they're going to be without one of their best players in Nero. Maybe they try to sign a big player to bolster their roster. But for now... you'll have to wait and see what happens there. Chengdu Hunters, though, I'm feeling decent about them as a team. They look okay. They don't look like the weakest team in this region. I will say that. They're looking better, and I think that they are starting to look more and more composed. Among is playing more of the tank heroes other than just Wrecking Ball Reinhardt. His Winston has been looking better. So the Hunters are an interesting team to keep watching out for. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team or a play-in team like they were last year, but I think they are looking not too bad. Moving on, we have the Hangzhou Spark taking on the London Spitfire. London Spitfire did not look very good in this match. Hangzhou Spark dominated them. Adora looked good, and Sassen looked good. They did what they needed to do. Sassen even played some Diva. He may have played some Sigma as well. Overall, a pretty good look for the Spark. I was mentioning before Architect. As I said, we don't know exactly which team he is on, but we know that Architect is going to a different Overwatch League team. He was flying to Korea, and we know that the Hangzhou Spark put out a comic about Godsby meeting with an old friend. Architect and Godsby played on X6 together before joining the Overwatch League. So I think it is safe to assume that Architect is heading to the Hangzhou Spark. Now, when I'm recording this video, there hasn't been an official announcement. I wouldn't be surprised if when this video goes up, there is an announcement already. I 100% think it'll be announced by then. I think it's only a matter of time before that comes out. But Hangzhou Spark, I think, with the addition of Architect, will look pretty good. I don't believe they're going to add Hacksaw anymore. I think that would have been a very good addition as well, but Architect, I think, is a good addition as well. I think he'll pair well with Godsby. They already have history. There's a number of players from that X6 roster, I believe, that moved on to the Hangzhou Spark as well. It might just be Godsby. I don't know. But I think Architect will fit in very well with that team, and I think he's going to be a top player to help his team out. Moving on to North America, the Paris Eternal beating the Dallas Fuel, my big pick for Sunday. I thought this series would be a lot closer than it was. Instead, Paris just absolutely dominated. Paris has cemented, in my mind, their spot as a top 5 team in the league. Some people may argue that Florida is better than them. The fact that Paris is as good as they are without Xe and without Sparkle, I think the Paris Eternal are a top 5 team. They looked really, really good against the Fuel. I'm waiting with bated breath to see what this team does when Sparkle is able to play here in a couple of weeks. And when Xe comes back, I think this Eternal team is going to be unstoppable. I think they're going to be one of the best teams in the league, better than anyone would have imagined. The Fuel didn't impress me. They didn't look very good. I think that they still have support line problems. I think that Decay and Doha are the bright spots of this team. I thought Note didn't play super well. I thought Gamsu played okay, but I thought there was a lot of mistakes on the side of the Dallas Fuel, and I don't feel confident about this team going forward. At least I don't feel as confident as I did last week and a couple weeks ago. Philadelphia Fusion took on the Vancouver Titans. Chipsa made his Overwatch League debut, and they won the map that Chipsa played, the one map that he played. The Fusion looked pretty good. All things considered, they played the worst team in the league in the Vancouver Titans, so who really knows what is going on there. You can't really learn a lot from that match. The Fusion win. They win big. That's really all there is to it. It's going to be a very tough go for the Titans for a while. New players. Some of them are in Europe. It's not going to be a team that really meshes well together for a little while. I think they have promise for sure, but right now, I wouldn't put a lot of stock in anything Vancouver Titans related, unless it's those former players from the Vancouver Titans. But the Fusion, I think, are in a good spot going into this tournament. I think it's going to be difficult for them. Obviously, they're going to have to potentially go up against the Shock, the Eternal, the Mayhem, the Valiant. There's some good teams in there that have been at least playing well recently. And I think the Fusion definitely are going to be tested, but they're one of the teams that I would say has a good shot at winning the whole thing. Final match of the week was the LA Valiant against the Toronto Defiant. A close one, 3-2 win for the Valiant. They locked up a spot in the top 4. The Defiant's loss put them in the bottom 2, which means they will be playing in the play-in against the Vancouver Titans when the tournament kicks off. I think the Defiant are better than the 12th best team in North America. I think they're better than Washington. I think they're obviously better than Vancouver. I think they're better than Boston, but they had the tougher schedule than those teams did. Boston had the big win against the Gladiators, an upset win. Give them credit. The Washington Justice had a match against the Vancouver Titans in the Vancouver Titans' first ever Overwatch League match. So that's that. I think the Defiant are better than what their record is. I just think they're going to struggle for a little while because they're better than their record, but the problem is so many teams are also really good that they're just not able to get those wins against some of these teams. But hopefully they get some matches soon against some teams who they are close in level with, and they can get some more wins. That's it from the last week. Let's real quick take a look at the standings. I have the APAC standings on the left and the North America standings on the right for this past month. As you can see in APAC, we have the Guangzhou Charge at number 1, then the Shanghai Dragons, New York Excelsior, the Hangzhou Spark, the Chengdu Hunters, the London Spitfire, and the Seoul Dynasty. The Seoul Dynasty being in 7 is very interesting. I don't think they're the worst team in the region, as I've said. I think they have been playing somewhat poorly, but I think they are better than what their record states. And the picking of opponents for the tournament shows that. The Seoul Dynasty weren't picked, so they're going to play the Hangzhou Spark. The Dragons picked the Spitfire, the Excelsior picked the Hunters. That shows you that those two teams think the Dynasty are better than the Spitfire and the Hunters, because neither of them wanted to play them. So it's an interesting matchup, and I think the Dynasty are a team who, if they make the top 4, I wouldn't be surprised. We want to North America, top 4. The Shock, the Mayhem, the Fusion, and the Valiant automatically move on to the actual bracket, while the Eternal, Reign, Gladiators, Fuel, Outlaws, Justice, Uprising all guarantee themselves a spot in the first group of matches, while the Defiant and Titans will play in the play-in match as the 12 and 13 seeds. I think this tournament's going to be really, really interesting. These standings are nice, and I really like them. I think that these teams have looked pretty good. There's some surprises. The Valiant at 4. I don't think they're the 4th best team in the region. I think they got lucky with their schedule. Obviously, they had the Defiant. They had the Uprising. And they had the Rain, that was kind of their big win that really helped them get in the spot that they're in now. So I think this is a really good spot for the Valiant, potentially. They obviously don't get the first choice of opponent. They will likely have to play the Paris Eternal, which would be a very difficult match for them, I think. But the fact that they made top 4 is good. They're on a good winning streak. I think that really helps your team. Even if you don't perform well in the May tournament, you still are on a 3-game winning streak, and you've added +5 to your differential when you were somewhat lackluster as a team. They put themselves now at, what are they, 4-6? 5-6, I think, maybe. 5-6, -4 differential. I mean, they're moving up in the rankings as a result of their recent performances. The Valiant are starting to look better, right? They're beating teams they should beat. Will they perform well in the tournament? Who knows? Only time will tell. But I'm very happy to see this Valiant team in this spot after what happened with them last season. I like to see that they are competing and they're doing well. That is everything for this video. Let me know down below your thoughts on anything that I talked about today. Obviously, tournament coming up this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I will likely put out 2 different videos. The difficult part of it is that the North American bracket isn't determined yet, so I'll be giving just my predictions on what the bracket might be. But overall, I'm just going to kind of be talking about what I think will happen in North America. Asia, it's much clearer and much more simple. I know it's going to happen, what the first round is, and beyond. I can make more predictions on that. So I'll probably have one up on Thursday, one up on Friday, just because I know the schedule's a little weird. And things are not completely set in stone. So I'll probably have the NA video out on Thursday and the Pacific video out on Friday. But I will keep you posted. So follow me on Twitter. Link is in the description if you want to make sure that you're getting up to date on everything. But that's it. That's everything. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing. Like I said, follow me on Twitter if you want. I got 2 Twitter accounts. Follow both of them or one of them. I don't really care. Anyway, hope you're all staying safe. Hope you're all staying indoors. Hope you're all getting where you need to be. I know places are starting to open up. Just remember, even when things are opening up, be safe, be smart. Wear a mask, wear gloves, wash your hands, whatever you need to do. That's it. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you once again. And bye-bye.